Carlos Nelson with Cascade Sports. We're here at Raytown High School. We're here with the head coach. Here, coach, take the mic. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, how long you've been coaching, and what's going on with the team right now.
Yeah, I'm Coach Buford. I've been here at Raytown as a head coach for 10 years. Graduated from Raytown South and got to play for Coach Bud Lathrop.
Ho! Talk about Bud a little bit and what you learned from Bud. Bud did the first interviews on Cascade Sports.
Yeah, Coach Lathrop, just a great basketball coach. Coached us hard, but we all knew that he cared about us. It was really a simplistic game to him. Either you execute or you don't. Either you make the shot or you don't. You rebound, you box out, or you don't. I think basketball is a simple game, and coaches and parents and players make it more difficult than what it is. It's not algebra or, trigonometry. So Coach Lathrop was a great mentor. It's sad that he passed a couple years ago, because he used to call me after every game the following morning at 6 a.m. And I miss those phone calls and the questions about, why did you do this? Why did you call a timeout? Maybe why didn't you call a timeout? Just a great mentor.
Talk about playing for him and then your college and then going to when you really started.
Okay, well, in high school I was lucky. I had Coach Lathrop for basketball, then I had Coach Donahoe for football, who's now at Rockhurst. And then all of their assistants were great. I mean, I could name all of them. They were like Coach Hirschman. He just passed away, was a great basketball coach, and he was my freshman football coach. Coach O'Shaughnessy was another great basketball coach that we had over there. And then there's probably 4 or 5 guys that were on Kelly Donahoe's coaching staff that are now head coaches. One of them is Dave.
Legacy.
Yeah, one of them was Dave Alley. He's the head coach at Grain Valley right now. Another one of my close mentors is Pete Carpino. He was the head coach here and out in Oak Grove, and now he's retired. So I was just surrounded by a lot of great coaches. Never thought that I would coach growing up, but it's just something I kind of fell into when Coach Carpino asked me if I wanted to help him coach football. And so it's a great profession to follow in the lines of mentors that I had.
Talk about your seasons here, from your first season and how you progressed, and some of the athletes that you coached.
Okay, so this is our 10th year here. We've never had a losing season. Our best seasons are when we have our football players that are playing basketball. We've had kids like Devin Drew, that's finishing up right now at Nebraska. Mason Fair, he's finishing up at Washburn right now. Jalen Gill finished up at University of Tennessee Martin. We have Derek Walker right now at the University of Nebraska after he was at Tennessee for a couple of years. Desmond Hudson is playing football at Northern Iowa.
Hey, that's impressive, because Cascade Sports, we call ourselves home with a student athlete and bridging the gap between sports and education, using sports to get you education and to take care of you for the rest of your life. That's a hell of a legacy to put forth. Talk about your seasons, your first season and where you're at now.
Yeah, when we took over, we had a couple. Raytown had a couple down years before we took over, and then we had a really good group of juniors that first year we took over the program, and they won. I think it was 18 games that first year, and then they built off of that and had a good senior season, that group. And it's always been since then, like every 2 years we have just another group of kids that we kind of build around. We're sprinkled in with a couple freshmen or sophomores here or there. But we've been very lucky to have good kids that play basketball year-round or play basketball and football. They're just great athletes, and so we just kind of added each little piece year in and year out to the programs.
This year, you started off kind of rocky, and now you got a 4-game winning streak. Mm-hmm. The kids we interviewed, they all feel they gelling at the right time. Talk about that.
Yeah, we had a tough schedule. We don't have any easy games on our schedule, and with a young, inexperienced group, we knew it'd be a little challenging to start off with, just because they didn't know what to expect. They'd never been in any of these battles, so they had to learn on the run. And we played a very challenging schedule. We didn't have an opening game before we went down to Springfield and played a really good Kickapoo team and got beat down there. Jeff City Helias and Lafayette out of St. Louis. And then just each game, we played Liberty North and Rockhurst and Blue Springs, Lee Summit. So we played a bunch of big schools.
Yeah. Big time.
And they all got good players too. And so these guys have not had a night off when they could play maybe a smaller school. And we don't have one easy game on our schedule the rest of the year, so it's just going to get tougher.
Well, the players that we interviewed seem like they got a lot of confidence. They got a confidence in your leadership, and they really feel that they can take it this year.
Well, they are gelling right now. I don't know if this isn't necessarily the right time where you'd kind of want to gel maybe in middle to late February, right before districts, but I would say that from where we started at and then where we kind of were 4 or 5 games into the year, definitely, obviously, with the 4-game winning streak, they are starting to gel and learn some things out. But we have a lot of room to grow. But they aren't lacking in any confidence at all.
That is another thing that I got out of the interviews, that they really bought into your program, and that they see that they can do it, but they got to do it.
Yeah, they know that. I mean, we can only tell them, or we can only do so much for them as coaches. Ultimately, they have to do it. Like we're struggling right now, rebounding the basketball. We can teach them how to rebound. We can teach them how to box out. But just like Charles Barkley said, there's not really a great rebounding drill other than go get the ball. And so we got to be more physical and aggressive on that. I would like to think that our kids have bought in because all of our coaches, from J.C. Johnson, our new freshman coach, to Coach Wynn, who moved up to our JV coach, and then Coach Morgan. We've had some stability, and those 3 guys help tremendously in our program. This is not me doing everything. It's all the assistants as well.
All right. You gave them their props. Now let's talk about, before we close out, how important is it to have a good administration behind your program?
A great administration and leadership, not only in the building, but in our program. We have great parent support, and honestly, we have great kids. We don't really have that many attitude issues, but the leadership from the top down, from our new superintendent, Dr. Penelope Knox Martin, she has done a great job coming in, and then all the other new people at central office, but even here in the building, we haven't had much turnover at all, from the leadership, from our principal to our assistant principals. And it's great knowing we have that support and backing, not only from the office and our leadership team, but also, from our coaches and our new athletic directors, and the parents as well.
Hey, Coach, who's your next up?
Our next up is Lee Summit. We play them on Monday at the Lee Summit tournament on Martin Luther King Day. That's a great tournament. It's Park Hill, Ray South, and Ruskin. It's Lee Summit West is in there, so it's another loaded tournament that we're in, and hopefully it gets us prepared for our conference race and district.
Anything you want to part with our audience?
Yeah, I'd just like to, just shout out or just tell all my assistant coaches how great of a job and how supportive they do. They're really helpful to these kids, and day in and day out, just being here for these kids on, helping them out mentally, helping them out academically, and then obviously on the basketball court, they do a great job, and I couldn't do it without them.
This program is brought to you by the City of Fountains Coaches Association.